What's going on, guys? By the way, just wanted to let you know, in this episode, we'll be talking about trauma, chronic illnesses, other things of that nature that are a little bit darker in nature. So if you have issues with those topics, I would suggest that you push on maybe to a previous one or the next one. So yeah, just wanted to let you know. But more specifically, there'll be my chronic illnesses and my experience. So just wanted to give you a warning.
It's a great episode. Welcome to the Behind 863 podcast, everyone. We have some upgrades and some future
some
upgrades that need to happen. Yeah, look at Woods and his new
headband.
I almost said bandana.
Kid's always sweating.
It's hot in the warehouse.
This
Hot in
is episode
here.
3 of the podcast. It is a little hot in here.
You both were just moving around a lot. I
Yeah.
think Sam and I are fine.
Well, we've just been sitting here, just waiting,
Chit-chatting.
just chilling.
Just chilling.
We got these new microphone arms, so hopefully this will clear it up. Woods, I'll move it to where it's always in front of your mouth like this. Like you should be kissing into it. Yeah, there it is. Your second mouth.
We're gonna get this lowered and cut this off so it won't distract you as much.
Yeah.
Because I'm distracted.
It's a spider.
It's a big old spider.
I almost
Big
made
ol'
a
spider.
very naughty joke that I kept to myself. I'm
Well,
proud
good
of
for
that.
you. Look
I
at
know where
that
you're going with it.
self-control.
Yeah, you know exactly where I'm going with that. Look at it again.
No.
No.
So this is episode
Looks at it.
3 of the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about a slew of different things.
You just got it.
It's generally how all of our conversations go, you know. I'm kind of glad I like moved around and worked out like doing all this stuff because now I feel like
Worked out.
a little bit
Worked
more-
out. This guy hung a
loose.
light. And he's like, I'm really glad I worked out today.
Samantha, I didn't see you in the ceiling.
You were in the ceiling?
It's not my
I was
job.
in the
Were you
ceiling.
expecting her?
Wow. Was I supposed to
No,
be?
I just don't want the slander about the working out.
Oh, yeah, you were in the ceiling. Good for you.
Yeah, see, thanks.
It's hot up there.
It's very hot up there. Look at my face. Do I look sweaty?
Your hair
No,
is
I
lit.
told
Like
you,
you've
like,
been in a ceiling.
neither of you guys look sweaty. You just look like a nice, healthy dew.
Duh.
Yeah, you could have just finished that.
Do.
You look like a nice, healthy dude.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, calm down.
All right. So Matt's body, Matt's health.
No.
I just said calm down, Sam. So Matt's body.
So up
Sam
next on
blushing.
episode 4, we're gonna talk about Tanner's bod.
Yeah,
Tanner.
It'll be a short episode.
Yeah.
It's
Why?
It's out of
That's
shape.
a shame.
It's out of shape, you know.
Oh, that's
round
why.
is a shape.
I thought it was because it was just a short. It was just a short episode.
Keep it to yourself, all right?
Short
Is that a
episode.
short- What are we talking about?
I don't know. Hey, this is what they pay for.
I
They
was
pay
trying
for
to
this.
transition us into the theme of the episode,
It doesn't-
Matt's health.
Guys, do you
but-
want all
Is
these to be
this-
perfectly on theme, always on brand, or do you want sometimes some little bit of banter, you know, to go into the mix?
why,
Thanks, Woods.
why would you do that?
Hey, Nick, give me that.
Did you call him Nick?
Yeah, that was a very Nick thing to do.
Oh, Nick Miller, yeah.
Just making sure it's clean.
I'm sure you were.
Even the way you responded
know.
there, just making sure it's clean.
I'm proud of you, Woods. Thanks for doing that. So today we're going to be talking about this week's upcoming shoots. I think we should
Yeah.
talk a little bit about Matt, your health, because Matt's been going through. Oh, thank you. Matt's been going through some health stuff that I really feel like we should kind of, bring to light.
Should we?
I think we should
If
because
he wants to.
We're going to use my health.
As an excuse.
as
as
clickbait.
clickbait.
yeah, for you on YouTube, you're seeing this right now. We're going to use Matt's health so that you'll click in this video and hopefully go over to Spellbound Plus. You can go to plus.spellbound.com, Project 863 Plus Story tab, and for $4.99 a month, you'll see this full
You get to
podcast.
witness my pain.
As well as, if you're seeing this on YouTube, you can get 3 months worth of vlogs and podcasts if you go right now. If I had to put the math in my head of how much content that is, that's literally hours of content.
Good
That
job.
wasn't math. That was a guess.
You call it what you want, I'll call it what I want. But in the meantime, Matt,
But you're right, ours.
yeah. So you went to the hospital. You've
We're
been
going to
going
start
through a lot
off
of
with the
pain.
hospital.
I thought
Yeah.
you said you wanted to talk about this week's shoots first.
Yeah, but let's get a little heartfelt first.
Okay.
Let's
Okay,
rope the
yeah.
audience in, you know?
Okay.
And then we'll talk about the
You don't
silly
want to
Billy
make
stuff.
them wait till the end?
Yeah, like
For
retention.
retention's sake?
No, you don't. No one cares about retention. People are paying to watch this. You think they're not going to watch it?
Oh, right. It's
Yeah,
not
like,
on
oh, this one
YouTube.
doesn't have my attention. Well, have the $5. You know?
The $5. Ah!
So
Okay.
Matt, you have Costco.
Who has Costco?
Has Costco. Matt, explain what Costco is to the audience.
Costco's a store that you buy things in bulk,
Okay.
and I slipped and fell there.
No, he just bought pain in bulk.
I bought pain in bulk.
Been waiting to say
Bulk.
that.
Bulk. Anyways, so everyone here is familiar with Costo. Are you? Have I talked to you about
Yeah,
Costo?
yeah, you've explained it to me.
I've explained it once, maybe 3 times.
Yeah, I think a
you've-
solid 3 times.
I didn't explain it 3 times
No,
to
you did, and I am open ears. You know, I'm
Open
ready to
ears.
hear.
Why don't you
So,
explain it?
what?
Why don't you explain it?
Yeah, okay. Why are you looking at me like that?
I've never seen somebody on a podcast like, I guess I'll talk.
No, I mean, it's like he's just like, they're looking at me like, yeah, do it again. I swear. Bore me to tears again.
No, I actually
No.
enjoy hearing
Yeah.
about it. And I know the
Yeah.
That's
audience...
so strange that he
I
enjoys
enjoy
hearing about my
hearing-
pain. This is like the 10th time he said that.
Masochism, baby. I love pain. Myself, yourself.
So
Others.
months ago, when I got back from getting dental surgery, major dental surgery, I was like out for like 8 hours. I texted you some strange videos
Yes.
of me thinking I was kidnapped, and
Yep.
I called for 2 straight hours, and I didn't even remember you. It
That's fine.
was crazy though.
It's like that scene in The Wizard of Oz where Dorothy's in the hospital bed.
But when I
You
came
weren't there.
to, I was like, I didn't include Woods.
That's all right.
And yeah,
I was
so-
busy that day.
Busy.
I was busy that day.
Probably doing yard work.
So I went to the dentist. It was an extreme procedure. I flew all the way out. I flew all the way back. Super stressful on my body, right, and on my mind because I'd already been diagnosed with like high blood pressure and like hypertension. And they're like, yeah, the doctor was like, yeah, you need to like be exercising maybe like an hour a day. And I'm like, how on earth am I supposed to do
Yeah.
that? Right. And so I'd been like trying to exercise like a ton and just totally burning myself out based on these doctor recommendations who didn't even know what he was talking about. But so basically what ended up happening was the stress in my life accumulated to like a breaking point, like an intense breaking point. And I now know that I developed fibromyalgia, which is crazy.
I see commercials about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hit me with what that is too.
Fibromyalgia is a pain disorder, right?
What is that? Yeah.
It means no one knows where it comes from. I do. Actually, now I know. But doctors don't know where it comes from because it's not. I'll get into it.
Sure,
I'll get
sure.
into the why. But fibromyalgia, in more clinical term, is a pain disorder. A lot of people think it has to do with like nerve issues or your nervous system issues, and your nervous system is like sensitivity is increased, and basically it sends really debilitating pain throughout your entire body randomly, right?
Man.
So like I'll just wake up and my wrist, I can't even move it because it's so painful, right? And I'm not talking like, oh yeah, like I twisted my wrist. I'm talking like if anything touches it, I like fall down in pain, like debilitating pain, right? So, and just to put it in context, I know some people have fibromyalgia that are probably listening, and so this is what I think is helping me through this whole process. But I forgot where I was going with that. But basically, oh yeah, that's where I was going with it. Just to put it into context, like some people choose assisted suicide with how
Really?
much pain.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
some people
Yeah.
choose assisted suicide
Man.
because of fibromyalgia.
Because it's that much pain, it's also that much unknown. Like
It's
it's,
that
What's
much
assisted
unknown.
suicide?
you can go
It's
to a doctor.
medical. In certain countries, you can seek medical help with ending your
like the
life
chair.
Certain states,
safely.
too.
No, not the chair.
No, it's like in a hospital. It's like with a lot of people with terminal diseases are eligible to do it in
It'd be
other
such a bad way
countries.
to go out assisted wise.
Yeah. You choose the electric chair.
Assisted electrical chair. No.
So it's a really, really, really painful thing.
Yeah,
and
I would- yeah.
there's been a lot of points where it's felt like that. Like I don't think I can go on because
Man.
if life is just like this, what's the point? Because you get really, really disillusioned when you're in sheer pain. And so I didn't know it. I had that at the time, and my back like totally locked up, and I also developed costochondritis, which is inflammation of the chest wall, right?
Costco.
Costco. Yeah, I got it there in bulk, like Tanner said. So, feel free to jump in with your pain stories.
Well, so you
After to get
mentioned.
through it.
So Matt, you mentioned a
Yeah.
breaking point
Yeah.
during all of this. What did that look like?
The breaking point was, that was the breaking point. It was just way too much stress, way too many potential health issues, and then like the stress like broke it and like added way more, right?
Yeah.
And that was the point where I started developing like all these chest pains. I legitimately thought I was going to die. I had been like preparing Bible verses for my wife when I passed.
Holy cow.
Really, really serious. Like, okay, I'm trying to die. How do I do this gracefully?
And you
Yeah.
made multiple
I'm
trips.
not trying to die. I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made multiple trips
to the
to
hospital.
ER and multiple trips to urgent care. And they're like, we can't find anything. We can't find anything wrong. And like you read about that all the time where
Yeah.
like you go to ER and they're like, nothing's wrong. And then you die of a heart attack 2 days later, right?
Yeah.
And this is also just in the time where my dad just got diagnosed with like 75% blockage. And during this whole period, he literally has triple bypass.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and my grandfather had just recently passed from a stroke and he had 3 heart surgeries. So I'm over here like, it's written on the walls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So to put it in context for the audience, when was this happening?
This was all happening during the break. This is like when I came back from the dentist was when I came back and I was like, I don't know what's going on with my body right now. I cannot. There's no way in heck I could possibly go into production.
Yeah.
And so it was like, how do I lead the team? How do, without me being there? Because we still have a really, really, not for lack of trying to not have it, but we still have a very owner-centered business, which is like, if Matt's not here, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not like you guys can't go on without me in day to day, but it's like, if I'm not here for 3 months, if I bounce for 3 months, like what are we doing?
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what are we doing?
Bringing back channels.
yeah.
Here comes Rex.
Right.
So that's not ideal, right?
Yeah.
And most of you know that we've been trying to figure out how to get out of the owner-centered business for like a year and a half. But since I'm relatively inexperienced, still learning how to do that, how to scale, how to make it so I'm not doing the technical work, right? All that kind of stuff. But that was that time. So we decided to take a break, which was helpful, less stress. But like I said, I had developed costo, developed this pain disorder, and it's been really, really challenging. Really, really challenging.
And I feel like the stress compounded, like I would say. Like,
Yeah.
we went from like, I'd say like normal stress before we took the break. It's like kind of stress we were used to, I think.
Yeah.
But also like, everything was like doing well. We were like taking care of everything. We were super excited. We took this break, and all of the stress I feel like that we relieved from the break because we had the time to take care of other things, do other things.
Yeah.
The second we started releasing content again, and with our new vision and our new plan and Spellbound Plus and all these different things that we were revealing, I feel like the stress from those 3 months was stacked on top of the stress from the new 3 months upcoming.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like all at once we're like, oh man, and unless everything went flawlessly, like it was just bound to happen,
Yeah.
like the stress doesn't just go away. It just kind of gets moved around a little bit for later, And so I feel like that's what we're in the process of doing now is like, and we're still, there's
trying
still
to come
stress there.
back.
Trying to come back. So yeah, there's the stress of getting back to where we were at, but also the stress of bringing our own vision to life,
Yeah.
And so I think that's where it's been like pushing and pulling against like in different directions, and it's getting better, I will say. But there was a few weeks where we were like, oh man, this is this is difficult.
Yeah.
For
What
sure.
have you been doing to alleviate that pain? Besides faking.
Besides faking a smile, right? Distraction helps occasionally. So like coming to work does help sometimes when I'm not presented with a lot of like unsolvable problems, or like, for instance, we're uploading content that's not working, or that sucks. But in the shoots and, shooting Dope or Nope has actually been a nice respite because it's just kind of like fun sitting back. But it's hard because some of the symptoms are really, really disconcerting. Like, for instance, costo, since the chest wall, there's inflammation, it like squishes your organs together. So your heart kind of beats on them like a drum. So it's like trying to not think about your pain and your disorder when it's like,
Right. So it's a lot of.
don't think about this. You'd be
It's
like,
difficult.
I'm going to go mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of patience and focus.
My resilience has increased tenfold. I will say that.
I'm sure.
I will say that because I remember shooting scenes with you guys beforehand where we had like some minor what's the word? Not alteration, but
Like setbacks?
Altercation.
Thank you. We had minor altercations where we're in story, right?
Okay.
And we're like,
I was
oh,
like,
we're,
what
we're
happened?
going through this fear, and we're like really manifesting these emotions, and we're being really method with our acting because we have to, because it's improv. It's quite literally role playing, so we have to be method acting. And I remember coming out of that in season 1 being like, wow, okay, that was intense. Like, that was a lot of emotions. I need to come down from that. I need to like kind of separate what's real, what's not. Am I actually in danger? No, I'm not. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember that being like a thing. And I remember talking to you about it too, where you were telling me some stories that, you know, Ryan has gone through too in acting, and we talked about that.
Yeah.
And that was some consolation.
Yeah,
But-
it takes a lot to like come down, especially I think you and I were talking about that after like the stakeout video, somewhere in that era where, you know, we were doing all of these really high tension scenes and episodes with car chases and it feels so exciting. And you're right, because it is improv and it's us but not us in these videos. Like it's kind of doing it method is kind of feels like the only way to do
the only
it.
way, yeah.
And so, or the only way
Otherwise
to
it
get
feels
the
fake.
desired result.
Yeah.
And so, you know, at the end of a shoot day, it is really important to go like, okay, I'm not being stalked. I'm not
and you have
like
to,
actually
talk yourself
in this
down from
position.
all the emotions. Yeah, and so
It's
here's the
exhausting.
interesting part. I don't have to do that anymore.
How come?
I literally snap out of it. Because I'm not entirely sure. I'm still putting this together.
Sure.
But I really think like the intensity of the emotions I felt like going through like my real battles and like really, really, really feeling like real fear of like death, like straight up thinking I'm going to die every day. It's like that kind of stuff is a lot less, and I can snap out of it really quick.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have a much more intimate relationship with like anger and fear, so that when it comes into me, it passes through me instead of me like holding it on to it and being like, what are all these things? Do I let go of this?
You
Is
can
this
decipher
real?
it
Yeah.
better. And
Yeah, it's just like, oh, it's just life. It's just emotions.
Yeah, it just
you know?
doesn't weigh on you as much. That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
So it's really, really interesting because I noticed that after we filmed our big fight scene, and like right after, if you recall, I looked at you and I was like, that was cool. That
Yeah.
was really cool. I
Yeah.
had like a big smile on my
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
And then I went home and I was like, whoa, that's so strange.
Because I remember Woods and I were like, that was kind of intense.
yeah, you
And
guys were, like,
Matt's
not
walking
meeting
around
me.
like, dude, that was so fun. Can't wait to see that. And even though I shared all of those feelings of like, that felt really good. And I know that's going to look really good
Yeah.
on camera. Like I was still like,
yeah.
that was intense.
Yeah.
Like,
Because you hit the emotional weight room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
yeah.
The emotional gym, dude.
weight room.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong. Is that through the past
Your
couple of
threshold
months,
is-
my threshold has, my tolerance has really increased for emotional discomfort, like a lot. But
you know what's real, what's not real.
yes and no, not really. It's like, it all feels the same. It's just
Meaning
feeling
after
that way isn't as threatening anymore. And I think that's the big piece of like what people don't realize about emotions is the emotions that you're filled with, they aren't the problem, right? Like that's just emotions, right?
Yeah.
And in our society more specifically, we're really, really taught like from all angles, from parents, from culture, from everything, even from a lot of religions to repress that ish.
Yeah.
Don't let that stuff out. Don't let that come out. Don't talk about it. Don't know it. Don't feel it. You're not feeling it, even if you think you're feeling it, because if you think you're feeling it, well, you don't know how good you have it, kind of a thing. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
There's so much of that in our
really
culture,
harmful.
and it's so harmful that the minute you feel any sort of slight discomfort emotionally, you think something's wrong.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I need to fix it. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when you go to the emotional weight room, so to speak, I think really what's happening there is you start getting accustomed to feeling negative emotions and just being like, just because it feels like everything is upside down right now doesn't mean it
Doesn't
is.
mean it is.
And it means it'll pass.
Well,
you
and
know?
that's so true because like there's nothing wrong or like there's nothing wrong with just having feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Where you really get into trouble is when you start having feelings about your feelings.
Yeah.
Like that's
Like
one of my
pouring gas
favorite
on a
things that
fire.
like my therapist has ever told me is just that like yeah, you can have especially with anxiety,
Yeah.
like you can have feelings, you can feel anxious, just don't start judging yourself
Yeah.
about the feelings you're feeling and like, you know, really stew in that negativity because that's when it like really
Yeah.
becomes a problem.
That's
like
when
we all feel things.
That's when it becomes
Like-
a mind-body problem.
Yeah,
really
yeah, true.
specifically, because basically right then is when you start saying, "I don't want to feel like this,"
Mm-hmm.
or "This is a problem for feeling like this." That's when you actually start repressing, and that's when you actually start not only having behavioral issues, you have like relational issues, and you also have like bodily
Addiction.
issues,
Yeah.
right?
Your body really
Addiction
like
is one of the
holds
things
on
too,
to
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think the soul, like what's really resonating when you just talk about you're not your emotions is, yeah, like society kind of just they set you up for that, and it doesn't allow you to sit with your emotions and sit alone and essentially like meditate in your emotions
Yeah.
or get to know your emotions and get to know that those
Yeah.
that's not you.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that opportunity, then you move into, you're uncomfortable with it. So you move into distracting yourself or numbing yourself or,
Yeah.
and that's bad.
Absolutely. And
Man.
that's the big part about, following Christ too, is that most religions will tell you, like, not most religions, but a lot of religions, and what I mean by religion is literally the constructs built
Yeah.
around the individuals that these people follow, and not
Sure.
necessarily the way they lived life and following them. So like, I don't really like saying I'm a Christian. I like
Yeah.
saying like I'm a follower of Jesus, right?
Sure.
But that's what Jesus also teaches, right? He teaches like, hey, when you're in the darkness, like I'm still with you. And basically at the core is saying you're still good no matter what. You're like, when you're in all of this chaos, when all of this stuff is happening, like I'm there, don't worry, right? It's like, just go through it, right? And that's, I think, a core tenet to really successfully going through life, right? Is that, a mark of maturity isn't about not feeling negative emotions.
Yeah.
It's about not acting on them, right? It's about processing them in a healthy, constructive way. And I think that's, I don't know, I think that's really fascinating because,
Yeah.
when you grow up and even in school, it's just like, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, right? If like you're mad, just don't yell at someone. No, like there's no like, but here's what you should do. Here's what you
Exactly.
can do. Here's how we model anger. Here's how we model fear,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like growing up, it's like, my dad and my grandfather, I'm not scared of anything. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, okay, great. So I'm not supposed to be scared of anything
Yeah,
ever.
if you
right?
ever do feel scared, you can't express it in any
Yeah.
way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
This is all
And
just
so it goes in.
This is all just making me want to watch Inside Out.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they do such a good job of like, see, all of these emotions have their place.
Yeah.
Even sadness, like you need to sit with sadness sometimes and
Yeah.
see like what you're feeling in that sadness and why it's there, and then move on. Like I just think it's so
I
so
really
fascinating.
like, before I really started my spiritual journey, when I was saved, I hated emotions. I never expressed emotions. I thought I never felt emotions. I was sassy and quirky and like made jokes and stuff like that, but those weren't really emotions so much as they were like the wit to make other people laugh.
Sure.
Right. But they weren't like my emotions. And now as I've gone through this spiritual journey, I've really started to began to have a healthier relationship and like a lot of curiosity and admiration for really what emotions are and really like dissecting them, because what's so fascinating, and going through a lot of therapy, go through therapy. It's the best thing you possibly can do. And every single person needs therapy.
Yeah.
If you say you don't need therapy, that's even a bigger sign that you
but
need
you
therapy.
do. Yeah.
But it's like, for instance, the strategy of really understanding like the role that each emotion plays, right? Like, what does anger do? What does fear do? I think it's obvious, like, oh, fear protects me from annihilation. Yeah,
Sure.
right? But what does anger do? Do you know off the top of your head? Yes, take a guess.
Well,
I'd say like
I would-
relieves stress,
Oh, well,
relieves
I mean,
tension.
What's the goal of
Interesting.
anger?
Well, I would say that anger reveals what you really care about.
Ish.
In some cases, because it's like, well, why are you angry? Because
Yeah.
something's not going the way you want it to.
Yes.
Well, how do you want it to go?
Yeah.
Like, oh, so that's what you really care
Yeah,
about.
you're really close there. You're really close. I think most emotions, almost every emotion, reveals identity,
Yeah.
right? Or at least I should say, reveals where you put your identity,
Yes.
right? But what's interesting is that anger, more specifically, is about justice, right?
Yeah.
It's about basically, if I punch you in the arm, right? In your brain, that makes you angry because you're like, that's not right. That shouldn't happen. And anger is there to serve to level the playing field. It's basically, right, like emotions are energy in motion. You know what I mean? So what we talk about then would be, everything is kind of like a something to motivate, right? So anger motivates you to take action and to correct, right? To correct injustice out in the world, to correct injustice between relationships, or to correct and set boundaries internally, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, for me, like anger usually pops up most when I can't achieve my expectation of myself, right? Like my expectation up here for myself is like perfection. I'm never gonna reach it. And so it makes me angry that I can't reach where I think I should be. And so like when I feel that anger, it's like, okay, right, there's no real injustice here, but the injustice is the fact that I set the expectation too high. I need to correctly set it lower so that, I live a healthier life,
Yeah.
right? Easier said than done. But, fear, sadness, and burnout, they all have really, really specific things. Like burnout is another great example. Burnout, if you think about it, you can always like uncover and decipher all the reasons for it. But burnout more specifically, what does it do? It puts you in bed, right? Like it totally destroys you. You just fall over, right? And the purpose of burnout is to literally make you stop before you die. It's to literally shut you down so that you rest. That's the goal. That's the entire goal of burnout. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
and so
it
you can
is.
kind of get ahead, right? When you stop like pushing against the emotions and being like, oh wow, I feel a little burned out. Instead of being like, you know what? Who cares though? Because it's the hustle. You go, well, wait a second. I don't want to keep burning out.
Exactly.
How do I rest?
Yeah.
How do I rest to mitigate that? How do I look a little deeper into my life to, understand where that's going? So I don't know. I'm really, really into emotions and like understanding them. I'm still not great at processing them.
Sure.
But I'm working on it.
Yeah.
No, it's fascinating.
But yeah, so to come around to your question, like what am I doing for pain? I've done one thing that's helping tremendously that I didn't find until 2 weeks ago, which is called, it's a book called The Mind Body Prescription, right? And in this book, this MD, this doctor, asserts that the majority of the time, most chronic illnesses, and this is going to be hard to hear for a lot of people that have suffered from chronic pain. Me being one of them, for the past decade, I've suffered from chronic pain. So I don't say this lightly. But chronic pain is a result of psychogenic and psychosomatic, unprocessed, unconscious rage.
Interesting.
It's really, really hard for a lot of people to stomach that, even if you believe it or you don't believe it, right? So, for instance, does your back hurt?
No.
Never? Ever?
Oh, yeah, sometimes.
Exactly. It hurts a lot, right? I see you in that chair. I see you like sitting back and you're like, oh, right?
Doesn't hurt right now.
It doesn't hurt right now. No, it doesn't have to hurt all the time, right? But what's interesting is when it does hurt consistently in the same spot and it's not like a really, really clear injury, right? Like
It's not like bad posture or like, because even then,
really.
like, what about
people?
posture?
People claim things about posture, but like you should read the book, The Mind Body Prescription. This guy's been healing people for decades,
Sure.
and he has a 95% success rate in healing people with fibromyalgia.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like fibromyalgia, arthritis, like cancer, things like that. Like literally, he's
Yeah.
seen cancer reverse itself.
Is it more like of a holistical take rather than the
It's not a holistic take. Well, it is. Well, you could say it's
comparatively to the big
basically
pharmas?
his assertion is that most modern medicine looks at the body apart from the mind, right? Most modern medicine like separates those two. And so they say, oh, you have an ulcer. It's most likely because there's a buildup of bacteria in your gut. Where he goes, but why did
Why?
that happen?
That's
most people
interesting.
stop
Yeah.
Right.
at the point of where like, oh, like they stop and they start treating the symptom, right? But the most interesting part is that unconscious rage that I talked about there, is that the idea there is that it's too scary for your conscious mind to process. So basically it pushes the pain out to be processed in other ways, right? And so if it's too scary for me to process a trauma of my past, I will process it painfully through my body, right? And a lot of people that probably suffer from chronic pain watching this, for instance, have probably suffered traumatic things in their lives, really traumatic things that are really, really scary to process.
Yeah.
Probably put a trigger warning on this on this episode, but it's fascinating to me, even though like, and I again don't say that lightly because I'm going through all of this pain.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so fascinating that like it's so difficult to process those really, really dark, scary thoughts that your body's like, I got to do something with this though.
Yeah, and it's so true that the mind and body are connected in that way. Because like, I mean,
in the
even
head.
just when you think about things like anxiety is on your head, but guess what? It really affects your body.
Oh, yeah.
Like it is immediately connected to a fight or flight response. Like, and so it's just like, yeah, of course, like trauma that isn't dealt with, like just kind of sits in the back of your subconscious and then finds its way into your body.
Well, if you think about it, nothing in your body can even work without your mind.
Yeah.
Like your eyes literally do nothing unless your brain interprets it. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like, it makes total sense. I'm kind of shocked that doctors don't put it together.
The issue is they don't know how the brain works. They don't know how emotions work, and the issue
infinitely
is
complicated.
well,
Yeah.
you never will.
Yeah.
That's the whole game here, right? That's the whole thing. That's why, that's one of the beauties of the design of the human body is like no one's ever gonna figure out the brain. It's never's gonna ever figure out.
It's
the brain.
impossible.
You know what I mean? Like,
Which is crazy because it's literally in all of us, but
and
it's
furthermore,
impossible.
not even figure out, even if you did once figure out the brain, to not even figure out, okay, but how do I perceive? How am I conscious? And how do I know that there's a spirit inside of me? You know what I mean? Like that identity that we speak of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the soul. Yeah.
That's all really fascinating. Actually, Charisse, my cousin, the chiropractor, is the one who introduced me to that mind body healing, right?
Yeah.
And I actually watched her go through this with something minor a couple months ago, where she all of a sudden her neck was just kinked to the point where like she couldn't walk, she couldn't get up or anything. And after a week of her just like sitting on the couch, doing icing it, massaging it, chiropractic things to it, I don't know.
Like releasing it.
Yeah, she, within that, she did like a lot of meditation, or not meditation, but soul searching, and because she's very connected with her relationship to Jesus, and how you perceive the world, and how that's affects your health, right? And so the conclusion she came to was something along the lines of our grandfather, and like, because it hit her pretty hard. I wasn't born at the time, but there were certain aspects of my grandfather's death that she had never processed. And so after talking to my mom, after talking to her mom, she processed these things, and like literally the day after, she's like, it feels better.
Oh yeah.
And like, and I'm like, that's amazing. And she's like, you just gotta, literally what you said right now. But that's all. It's a fascinating subject, because it also correlates with like how placebo effect works, and all that.
Belief is so powerful. Belief and incredulity. Yeah.
Literally, we're just imagination, right? Like we're just our imagination, right? And so like, that's a great topic, and that's awesome.
That's not even where it ends, though, because I want to make a really, really clear point to people who are suffering from chronic pain, specifically chronic pain too, is that when I say psychogenic and psychosomatic, right, it doesn't mean it's all in your brain, right? Like, it means your brain's actually providing the pain. And I don't even mean like fake. I mean like your brain is literally creating chemical reactions. So basically, like for instance, there's a lot of foot pain right now, and I don't really have the time to process it, so I'm just going to sit with it. But basically, this pain that I have from my shin down to my foot right now is my brain attempting to process something that I'm unconsciously raging about inside. I have no idea.
Sure.
I feel fine right now, right? But whether it's in my past or whether it just happened, who knows? But what's actually happening is the brain is oxygen depriving my leg. So I actually feel pain.
Yeah.
So it's not like
It's not like the pain is fake.
It's
like,
not like the
but
pain's fake. Like it's real pain.
Yeah.
Right. It's just fascinating that the brain's actually like, no, I'm going to actually give you pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, it's all in your head. No, it's not all in your head.
No, it's
not all in
very
your
much
head.
real.
Because TMS manifests not just in oxygen deprivation, but in actual autoimmune disorders.
Yeah.
Like the book said, it happens with cancer all the time, because we create malignant cells all the time, and your body's like, kill it.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
But then why all of a sudden does it allow it to grow? Right? It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
And I know many people that have passed from cancer that were really, really close to me. And, looking through that lens, I'm like, oh, that hurts my heart. It hurts my heart because you can see back into the past of like definitely unprocessed pain, like traumatic emotional pain that needs to go somewhere.
Especially those generations, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
like
so repressed.
where you release less able to talk about it openly. I think.
yeah, there was like stigmas against those emotions, and
Stigmas against therapy. Like imagine being in
Yeah.
those times nowadays. Isn't that
I
crazy?
couldn't-
Like nowadays, people like therapy is beloved. You know,
mindfulness is
And, like-
definitely coming to fruition in our society
Yeah.
nowadays, and like these
And
types
it's
of
good.
talks, and like yeah, it's really good because like this type of mindfulness,
Yeah.
your health, and
Yeah.
how that correlates, or how your mind correlates with your health,
Yeah.
is like. I feel like it's just kind of coming to mainstream a little bit
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
at least in terms of like the medical community.
I think that's a testament to how like important it is, how important something is to be trending. You know what I'm saying? Or like cool. Like and it's like and it's and we're just now I feel like really seeing that as much as we are. Whereas like obviously we've always known trending topics, trending things going on affect like people like as a whole. But like looking at it now, like seeing the importance of things that trend, even looking in the past. Like remember there was that one, I think it was that one other podcast where they talked about how like, you know, alcohol was the big trend, and so people would even drink it like before work, and like it was common to drink it at work and take alcohol breaks at work
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And then coffee became the new trend, and then that boosted productivity and went off just because it was trending, just because it was like this trendy thing to do, you know.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's more trending. Like the youth are finding more. They're kind of like mocking those who don't take care of themselves, like like mentally, and like they're like, oh, you think you're a real tough guy because you don't want to talk about your feelings, kind of thing. Like that's like a very common thing. And I find
Yeah.
that
That's
so
also
fascinating.
unhealthy to do, though.
Yeah.
To
Unhealthy.
mock others.
Still unhealthy.
Well, but you have, but yes,
Like the
obviously,
script has flipped
but
fully.
it's unhealthy, like
The pendulum.
towards the
Yeah.
healthier route. I'm not saying it's not unhealthy,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know,
It's still
like,
aggro.
You're never gonna
Yeah.
get rid of mocking, but it's like the fact that it's mocking about like, hey, you're not taking care of yourself. Like
Yeah.
even though it's aggressive, it's like, oh, like people like that's just how kids communicate in
Yeah.
general, right? They just mock
Yeah.
and because they're unsure. So,
Everyone's scared.
This trend is like you can take care of yourself. You don't like. I mean, doctors are good, but like if there's something wrong with you, like
There is work you can do on yourself.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, you don't always have to go to a doctor, and because yeah.
But that's why it's so important to you know not be letting the state of this pandemic weighing on you, and to be like filling your mind with poison all the time on news, whether you believe it or not. It's
Sure.
negativity, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that toxifies the mind to the point where it actually lowers your immune system. Like that's real stuff. That's just how it works. When you believe you're going to get sick, you get sick. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you will catch the virus by
Oh no!
Yeah.
by belief,
by
you know,
believing it.
By watching the news,
conspiracy.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
no,
lower
but
your immune system, and
Yeah.
fear negative emotions really have difficult impacts, or I would say prominent impacts. You know what's interesting? The pain in my foot's gone
Yeah.
because I
that.
processed it. Because I literally spoke about it and said that's pain that's caused from my brain. It's not actual, you know, it's not something wrong with my leg, and it literally moved to my other foot.
So what's going on in your other
Yeah,
foot
let's
right
get rid
now?
Same
of
thing.
that.
Feels the exact same, but it's on the right side now. Oh yeah, but I'll
But
process
yeah,
it, right?
so let's talk
But
about.
that's
it
a
seems like you didn't
characteristic.
process. It
Yeah.
seems like you moved it.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the brain's mechanism, right?
Yeah.
The brain is a really crafty thing where for instance, if you like hear a weird pop that you've never heard before, there could be absolutely nothing wrong with your body, but your brain's like perfect place to deliver pain so I can process this.
Yeah.
So there can be nothing wrong besides the oxygen deprivation to your leg or wherever you heard the pop, and that's when. But no, I heard a pop, and that's why. Well, you know, chronic pain. You know, like there are some people that have chronic pain that are due to like verifiable. You know what I mean? Like
Car
issues.
accidents, like
Car
things-
accidents is
yeah.
a great thing, but even people he's
Not a great
people
thing,
with-
but it's a great example.
a great example. Thank
Yeah.
you. Jeez.
Matthias is canceled.
Yeah,
He's been
right.
talking, so it's kind of like you get to that point where
Yeah,
you're like,
I'm like really excited about this because I really feel like I've turned a new leaf into
Yeah.
something that's like it makes so much experiential sense, and
the puzzle's coming together.
the puzzle's coming together from my experience and also from like you know actual science out there too. But it's just really strange, right? Because for instance, my knee hurts, but my knee hurts because I literally jammed the heck out of it really hard. Like I literally like was like climbing over like my kid's gate, and I just jammed it right into the banister, and like, oh my gosh, that was so painful. And it's like in the process of healing, right? But that's totally different than like something that's like, where is this
random
coming
pain
from?
that you
Where
don't
is
Like a
this
know.
doctor
coming
can't
from?
even.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's usually every little chronic pain syndrome. It's always like a diagnosis by elimination. It's always like, well, you don't have this, and you don't have that, and you don't have this, and
which
you
is
don't
also
have
just
that.
exhausting.
Yeah, but even things like gout and arthritis, right, that you can diagnose, they still don't know why it shows up. And
Yeah.
they just say hereditary, right? Where it's like same thing with blood pressure, where it's like they say it's hereditary, right? I just reduced my stress and my blood pressure went down.
Yeah.
That's not a big shock, right? It's just all the internal tension just creates pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I don't know how long we're gonna talk about this, but
I don't know, man.
it's unfortunate because like you'll have those doctors who don't know where it's coming from, don't know what's causing it, but they've had hundreds of patients just like you, and so
Yeah.
they prescribe something, but still it's an individualistic thing, or could be, and so now you're just taking a drug that's like,
Yeah.
maybe you don't need to take that.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's literally
exactly.
what my heart doctor did when I went in to do like the stress echo and everything like that. He's like 40 years old, and he was like, yeah, well, if you have cholesterol, I suppose you do. We'll just put you on some cholesterol medication. I was like, couldn't I just change my diet? And he's like, don't worry about it. Why change? Like literally what he said. I'm not even
See,
kidding you.
that's-
And then he was like, I took it. I noticed I had high cholesterol at around 28, and I've been on it since.
You didn't just change your diet
Why?
instead?
Dude, you can't just be passing out drugs like candy, dude. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Just take some
Why do
candy.
that? Not all doctors
Yeah.
are like that.
Oh,
There are
of
some really
course.
obviously like the doctor that wrote this book, right?
Yeah.
He was a medical guy that was like, things aren't adding up though.
Yeah. Well,
Do you
and
want
I
to
mean,
know why though? Like, because he can make a prescription.
He can make
gets
profit,
paid
yeah.
for it. He makes
Yeah,
money off
of course.
of it.
But they also don't teach
I mean, I'm not-
them past that point. Like they don't teach them
and so
of
that's
that stuff.
that's the issue.
Yeah.
It's the system that's like
Doctors
really
are taught to
training
prescribe.
doctors to prescribe and to diagnose really, really specific things. And
Yeah.
for a lot of things, it really works well, right? Like
Yeah.
if you have things that have known causes and they're known diseases, and they can be cured, then boom.
if
like,
you have
go.
strep, you need medication. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Like
there are
I'm
certain
not,
things.
I'm not downplaying doctors at all.
Of
you know,
course.
if doctors didn't exist and like medical industry didn't exist, like I wouldn't have my kids, I wouldn't have my wife. They'd be
Sure.
dead. They'd
Yeah.
be dead.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
It's specifically chronic illness.
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's like we've given the medical community like, I guess like, oh, solve all of our problems.
Yeah.
But that's not the answer.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
you're right. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Should we talk about the shoot?
Do we want to? I mean, this week I just feel like we should just all process our subconscious pain.
Yeah.
But should we just not film?
Because
We
everyone's
should
got
just-
it, dude.
Oh,
Everyone's got
yeah, yeah.
it. Everyone's got it.
Everyone's got it. Everyone's got it. I mean,
For your
yeah. I mean, we could.
subconscious
I mean,
Oh
let's
my
just.
God.
I think that was great. Like, first off, I think that's something. I mean, I can speak for you, but I mean, let us know down in the comments below. I feel like part of what I want this to be is the people within it, like what we're going through. Like, obviously, like, you know, we can talk a lot about the story, but also the people that are making the story, like behind it, is like what this is about too. And so I find that stuff really fascinating because I know the audience is going to find that
Yeah.
stuff really fascinating. The audience gets so much of what they only get what they see on camera, which we film, but we only film maybe for like 10 to 20% of our week, you know, like
Sure.
4 of the 40 hours that we work, you know? So it's like, I really like this part being the, you know, the other 30 of like, what are those people? Like, what are they writing? What are they doing? And so let us know, like, do you guys like seeing this stuff? Do you want to hear more about like what's going on with the shoots and stuff? But I think that is exactly what like I want this to be, is like, hey, that's helping you and that's helping me. Like, and it gives us room to talk, you know,
Yeah.
intellectualize, like understand.
I mean,
and
I just hope that there's some people open out there that are like, you know, maybe my pain is emotional.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Just to entertain the idea.
Yeah.
Because literally, he says in the book, really that's all you need to heal, is to start talking to your pain like, hey, I know what you are. You're trying to make it so I avoid looking into my emotions. So I'm going to do that now. And he says people are cured 2 weeks to 3 months. They're cured of their pain, of like fibromyalgia. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? And I know that it's onto something, because I would wake up every day and like my pain would be like in a different place and it hurts so bad. And I'd wake up the next day and today's my left leg and it's really, really bad. And today's my neck and it hurts really, really bad. Today's this, today's that, right? Obviously it's always costo. Costo's something entirely different caused by fibromyalgia. But what's interesting is once I started talking to the pain, it bounces around. Like literally it bounces around within minutes.
Wow.
So it's like I just said, it left my it came back to my leg here. So just in the span of sitting here, the pain in my body has bounced around 3 times, which like didn't happen before I started doing this
Sure.
process.
Yeah.
Didn't happen at all. Right. And so it was like hard to buy too. So I'm just like, if someone could just buy that for a little bit and entertain the idea that like, well, wait a second, what if I started processing some pain emotionally? Like you just never know what you'll drag up. It's hard.
That makes sense.
The worst thing that can happen is it helps. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Well,
It
what's the
makes
downside,
sense. Like you do that in therapy, right? You do that with your traumas. You bring them up and you talk about them. You discuss them. You get familiar with them, and so why wouldn't you be able to do that with your body?
Yeah.
Right. Your body's incredibly intelligent. I think like more intelligent than people give. Give it.
yeah,
And-
you don't know how much you don't know. That's
and
like
not
the
only
biggest
that,
thing.
but your subconscious is way more powerful than your
Yes.
conscious brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for
Way
sure.
more powerful.
And
Yeah.
scarier too.
Way scarier.
Way
because
scarier.
it's literally doing things that you don't know
You
that you're
don't
doing.
know what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Wasn't it like Jordan Peterson or something like that or someone else said that, like any person's only 3 steps away from killing someone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh wait, I was talking about this the other night.
And I believe that.
Yeah, yeah.
I totally believe that, right? Like if you're not in touch and you don't believe that you're evil in the depths of your heart, like you don't know yourself. You don't know yourself. And I'm not saying like you want to go outward and like do evil
No.
things. That's not the goal.
No.
But it's like you want love so bad that at the end, if it really push comes to shove, you'll do something evil to get
Well,
it.
yeah, there's a TV show, and I'm not going to remember what it is, but there's a TV show on Hulu, and I think it's actually only in the UK because I think they like can't
Yeah.
show it in America.
Oh, really?
That is based on the idea that like, yeah, we're all only X amount of steps away from being
Yeah.
capable of killing someone, and they put this to the test.
No.
So,
Oh,
but
press the
in a
button.
I don't know. I don't know.
We're talking about different
We
things.
might be talking about different things, but a very poorly explained example
Yeah.
is like they have one person and like hundreds of other actors are involved in this. So this is like the one like subject, and they don't fully know what
Yeah.
the test is or
Everyone
what
else
the show
they think
is,
is
and
just
it's all
another
hidden
subject.
cameras. Well,
Yeah.
it's all like a hidden camera
Yeah.
show. So they'll like go throughout this extravagant party for like one night, and all of the actors know who the target is, and so they kind of say like, hey Tanner, can you do me this favor, can you go like tell that person, like I kind of have beef with them, can you just do, like they build relationships with
Yeah.
with that one subject to try and gain their trust in hopes of by the end of the night that they will push someone off a building for them. People have been literally put, and so the person that ends up getting pushed off the building is attached to a harness and so doesn't actually
They
die,
actually do
but they've
it?
actually done it. And this is a person who's just a normal person entered this experience thinking, no, I would never kill someone. Are you
Yeah,
kidding me?
yeah.
But through enough trials and through enough like bonding experiences with these
Yeah.
other people, they are faced with a decision to push this person off of a roof or not, and they do it.
What's the
Yeah.
alternative?
I
just
don't
not
know.
do it.
I just heard about the concept for the show,
But
and I'm watching it
that's
like
the
tonight.
point, right?
But
the
yeah.
point is that when your belonging is threatened, right? When you think your security, your safety is threatened, you will do what's necessary to survive.
Yeah.
That is inherently evil.
Well, and it's also when you feel like you can get away with it, because they don't. It's not like there's like an MTV crew up there with camera. It's like it's all hidden cameras, so it's like it's just you and
Yeah.
someone
No,
else
I think
on the
that's
roof.
really interesting.
And
That's
so
wild.
you push them off
Because I'm trying to put myself in that situation, and obviously I'm like,
Struggling.
yeah,
no way.
the situations
there's
are different
no way,
each time
even-
too.
Because they're like, if I go into a party and I'm just like meeting people for the first time, doesn't matter the relationship I connect with them.
Yeah,
on that,
I know.
You know,
I
like,
don't know. I don't know that they're all over one night. Like some might be a couple of nights, but also like some of the circumstances are different. Of like the actors can build a like I'll pay
If
you
my
X amount of
mom-
money, or like here's the
Yeah.
situation. Like it's different prompts.
if my
each
mom
time.
asked me to kill someone, I wouldn't.
Okay, but this doesn't.
you might be
You're not
surprised.
putting in the
This
complicated-
situation.
I'm sure
This
there's
situation
context.
that she's elaborating on doesn't mean that will work on everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just going to show you
That humans are capable of-
humans are capable like of way more than they know.
Yeah.
Right, and there's different contexts and different situations that like
Yeah.
will itch someone will grind someone's gears more than the other.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm sure like if I was hangry, if I was like at a Walmart
If you
on
were
Sunday.
hangry, you would murder someone.
Actually, that's it. Hangry at a Walmart on Sunday.
Murder.
Murder everyone.
I'm ready. That's all I need.
I had a sandwich today, and she
Get
really
out of my
triggered me.
I know exactly where my points would be too. Like if
Sure.
someone did something to my kids.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's a great example. But even like if someone did something to someone else's kids, that makes me angry. That makes me really, really angry.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
And that's just, that's a horrible injustice, right? Especially to a kid.
Yeah.
Such a vulnerable. Anyways.
Yeah.
But that's like something that I could see. Okay, I could see myself getting coerced into
Sure.
doing something really bad
I
in
don't
the
think it
wrong
would take
situation.
a lot of coercion. It's like I think it's
It's a justice complex
It's-
too. Like
well,
it's just like, well, that was wrong. So okay.
I don't know if it's complex. It's
I
just
think
Well,
emotions.
it's just
yeah.
I just think it goes back to the same thing of like like you're never tempted to do good. You know what I'm saying? That's not what temptation is. Like,
Yeah.
So you're
Interesting.
always going down until you fight the current. Is like how I
Yeah.
view life in general. And I feel like and something Jordan Peterson did say, which I really agree with, is that it's always easier to get to hell than it is to get to heaven. And he's like, no one falls into heaven. You know?
Yeah.
And I think like that's just an absolute fact, and that's why you see people descending, and you see all these things, and people love it. People love bad and evil, and like it's just like because it's so relatable. It's so
It's
human.
pleasure.
It allows
It's
them.
human. It really
Yeah.
is, And so I think like that's why I'm not shocked by it. Is like I think all of us are very, very capable. It's just
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I mean there's so much murder throughout history. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
more murder than savior, I would say.
I mean,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Like with your kids, like my mom could never ask me and then get me to kill someone. But if someone killed my mom, absolutely would more than likely.
Dude, I used to have
Kill
a scary
somebody.
dream when I was a kid. I used to have a scary dream where it was like me and like my mom, my like dad, like a couple of my sisters, we'd be on like the top of a rock. Like this is kind of like Star Wars stuff. On the top of this rock, and there's like melted lava around. And there was people like holding my family hostage, and I just remember being like, what do I do? You know what I'm
Whoa.
saying? And just like tripping
Press the
out.
button.
Yeah, and they're just it was just such a weird thing to see as a kid, and then you're just like, well, I'm gonna go kill these guys, right?
I found the show. It's called The Push.
Oh gosh.
The Push.
Whoa.
So here's the description. The Push plunges a seemingly unaware contestant into elaborately constructed scenario involving 70 actors, one devised specifically to encourage him to push an old man off a building.
An old man.
Old man.
Oh man, Jenkins.
See,
So they're heavily manipulated, obviously, in the scenario, because that's the whole point of the show and this experiment is like, can we convince a normal person to do this? And
I've seen a show where that it might be like a 180 of that, and the situation was there was like a train conductor or like a train conductor manager or something, someone who sits not on a train but sits where like the trains like intersect, right? And like there's civilians outside, and he like opens up the door, and he's like he goes out and he picks a random civilian. He's like, please, quick, I need you to come I need you to come like conduct it. You just have to watch. Just don't do anything. This is to switch the tracks, and that's all you need to know, but you won't have to press it. And they're like, okay. He's like, there's not another train scheduled for hours. I've got to go get my baby or something like that. I'll be right back. And so they're left in this room for like a couple minutes, and there's a train coming. And so they're like, okay. And it's pretty obvious where the train's going to be coming. And all of a sudden, someone walks in. They have cameras in the room, by the way. Someone walks on the tracks and like falls, an actor, and like can't get up. And they can see that the train is heading towards them. And there's another track that can switch, but they either watch or they just press the button and it switches. And the majority of the people watched. Only a
didn't
couple
switch the
people
train?
pressed and switched it. Yeah.
why?
wouldn't you
Why
switch the
wouldn't
train?
you? Why wouldn't you hit the button? Like they were just scared of doing something wrong, probably
Yeah,
by
they're scared.
hitting
Like,
the
don't
button.
press the button unless I tell you to. I'm like, well, I can't. He's told me not
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, there
Wow.
were certain dynamics to it, but
Sure.
like the results at the end were like,
We're like, man, yeah. I have always
kind of-
been like, oh, I could never kill another person, and then my subconscious brain gave me a really scary dream where where I like vividly and like viscerally felt myself like stab a man in the chest, and like
Or key a car.
or a Kia car. But I woke up from that dream sobbing because I felt like I had just murdered someone. And in the context of the dream, it was like, well, yeah, I was definitely going to murder that man. Like it was him or me. But like, I woke up and like my body was like giving me the like thoughts of like, oh yeah, so like my hands could like feel the feeling of stabbing something, and I was like, oh wow, like I've never thought that I was capable of murdering someone, but because I just experienced that in the dream, like my body feels like, okay, I probably could. Like I'm like, yeah, but I'm not gonna key your car, Matt, I promise.
One of my friends had a dream. I won't use the name but they had a dream where they murdered someone and then they hid the body and then went to sleep, and when they woke up, they were really, really disturbed because they couldn't figure out, did I actually do that?
Yeah.
And they were like kind of walking around and be like, hey, did I? And like there was a large portion of the morning where they're like, I think I killed someone.
Oh my god!
I think I
They
killed
drive to
someone.
the location.
Yeah,
I think I
fine. Where
killed
they?
them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's so hard to separate reality.
so
from,
hard.
Your imagination.
Yeah.
But that's what's crazy.
Well, and
That's
this dream was
absolutely
also
wild.
brutal too, because after I killed him, like his like wallet fell out and it had a picture of like his kids and his family, and I was like, why did my
Sam's so
brain do
cocky.
that?
Making it so hard on you. It's like slapping you around. It's like, this is what you get.
Yeah.
Like what you
get.
just did,
It's
what
like,
you're
Okay,
gonna
so
do.
you're gonna murder this guy, and now here's his family.
Hey, before you wake up, look in his wallet.
Yeah, no, basically, because I woke up like not that long
And
after
then his
that, and I
only
was
surviving kid looks up at you and says, why?
like, why?
Or you see those kids in public,
The same kid.
and you're like, "Where's your dad?"
Well, guys, I hope this was an informative podcast. To some extent.
Cutting it right there.
It's got to cut.
That's Sam's weird dream. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, that's
health,
content.
murder, lots of fun things.
I mean,
Two
this
opposite
is
sides of
probably
the
my
same
favorite
coin.
episodes by far.
Yeah. So let us know what you guys thought about it, and leave some leave some upcoming podcast topics in the Behind 863 topic on Spellbound Plus.
Yeah.
Wow, that was eloquently
You
said.
did it.
Good job.
Can't believe I did it. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Don't murder anybody. Bye.
Only
you
in your
do,
dreams.
There's the